Welcome to the Prosperity Profiles Podcast, sponsored by Prosperity Profilers, LLC. They'll help you look prosperous, feel prosperous, and be prosperous. We hope you listen often, and if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe. Now here's your host, four-time #1 best-selling author, speaker, and business coach, Holly Porter.
Hello and welcome everybody to another day in the podcast. We are here. It's a bright, sunny day outside, and I am excited to have another new guest that you have never seen or heard before, depending on how you're listening to this. And her name is Amy Robeson. Hey, Amy, how are you?
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So Amy and I'm going to share a little bit more about her in just a moment, but we met at an event pretty recent. So she's a new friend of mine, and you just meet somebody and you connect and you're like, no, you are going to do some powerful things with this person, right?
I love it.
So I'm happy that we got you on. I know we've been talking about it for a while, and so I'm just thrilled you're joining us. Amy is a gifted healer and a spiritual mentor. She's a skilled teacher with the rare ability to clearly communicate high concept spiritual, so her students become more powerful healers in their own right. And so she's been gifted with the ability to tap into the depths of one's soul. We're going to be going in deep with that and finding out a little bit more, because Amy is a totally different guest than I've ever had before. She does some really neat things that I know most of you have probably never heard of. She's devoted to reconnecting people to their intimate, divine nature so they can experience more joy, abundance, and love in their lives.
Yay.
I love that.
Yay.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so anything else about us? Do you want to share about you first?
I'm a big believer in that we are here to play and have fun, and that we can have all of the success and abundance that we want. And it all starts with just exploring who we are from the inside out. And to create true prosperity is beyond just like money and finance and wealth. It's really creating prosperity within the heart, and then moving from that space, you create a new reality, which is kind of cool. And you do that with, spiritual practices and recognizing yourself as a spiritual being that has beautiful gifts to gift the world with. So yeah.
Oh, I love that. What got you into healing work?
So it's one of the things I just kind of stumbled upon. I moved from the Midwest to be with my now husband and to the East Coast. And I moved and I had an accident. I cracked my tailbone for the second time in my life. And I started walking with a limp, and I was in so much pain. I was in physical pain for well over a year. And I was in a career that I didn't want to be in. So I was like super depressed. I just knew I was supposed to be doing something more. And so I started meditating. I found a spiritual teacher. And within a very short period of time, I was able to heal myself from inside out. I got rid of the physical pain. I was able to get off the pain medicine. I was able to start walking again the right way. And it just led me on this path of really discovering who I was and what I was here to do. And within meditation, I really discovered how intuitive I was, because I was willing to sit and explore, and all these amazing things started happening the more I just closed my eyes and sit and found stillness. So yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. I know a lot of people, more people are open to energy work than they used to be. And especially people that are entrepreneurs, I believe that they're a little more open to everything, which also includes this. And so you've probably found that as well. And I have a ton of healer friends. And so I love it. Like it's been interesting to hear all the different kinds of modalities. And, I think it's amazing when we can use some of this in our businesses, whether you do work for someone else or you are an entrepreneur. I tend to attract more entrepreneurs because that's what I am. And, building businesses and, so I think that's the kind of people. But I know you do a different kind of modality with the records. So let's have a conversation about that. Can you share?
Yeah, so I teach my clients how to play in their Akashic records. So I'll tell you what the Akashic records are. And some of you may have heard of this. Some of you, this may be a totally new concept to you. So the Akashic records are an energetic field of infinite possibilities. And every single soul on this planet has an Akashic record. So from the moment your soul is incepted, every word, deed, thought, and action is written in this record. And if you want to think about it like a book, we can go into the Akash, into this field of infinite possibility, open your Akashic records and speak to the guardians of the records, or sometimes I refer to them as the masters, the teachers, the loved ones. And so you can use this tool to have answers to your deepest questions answered in moments. You can use the Akashic records for health. You can use the Akashic records to build your business. And that's how I've built my business. I built my business on, I would go into the records and say what program to create, and they'd give me the words, they'd give me the copy to write, and I would just sit, listen, and act on it, because I know that it comes from the highest level of vibrating energy that's possibly out there. And so if I act on it, because I have free will, and you can choose not to act on the advice that you're given, I know that anytime I've ever acted on it, it's always come completely true. And so I'll back up again to just say, this is not fortune telling. It is the guardians of the record share information with you based on the moment that you're at in that space and time. And so, you know, if I use the records when I first started playing in the records. I had a really good career as a finance manager, and I started on this spiritual path. So I started getting all these spiritual tools, and I decided that the only way I could ever have my own business and to be on stage is I had to be a yoga teacher. And the reason why I knew that is because if I could teach people how to touch their toes and breathe at the same time, I could be on stage and not have to do something so complex, right? And so when I got my certificate for yoga teacher training, I went in the records, because I've been a practitioner for quite some time, went in the records and I said, listen, I really want to get a yoga job, a yoga teaching gig, while I'm still having my career, and I really want to find a place. Where can I go? And so I sat and had my session with the guardians, and they said, you know, go to this studio, say XYZ that you want to volunteer to watch the kids class, and tell them how interested you are in it, and that you're a yoga teacher, certified yoga teacher. This is extremely hard to get a job inside of a yoga studio the second you get certified as a teacher, because you need to have been a student of theirs at the studio, and you would have needed to be certified by that studio for them to even consider you. Okay.
Right.
So I did what they said, and I went and observed the kid. He said, yeah, come in and observe the kids class. I went and observed the kids class. And with 2 weeks later, he called me back and said, hey, Amy, you want to start teaching this class?
Wow.
And so I just did what they said. That's all that I did. I was just following the guidance, and they give you these, I like to call them breadcrumbs. They give you breadcrumbs to follow, because they'll never give you step 10 in the process. They'll always give you step 1, because if you start with step 10, it's never going to work out. And so they give you these breadcrumbs to follow, and it's up to you, and it's up to your free will to follow the guidance and your own intuition, because they're not here to tell you everything to do. They're here to give you guidance and support so you can be your master teacher. You can be the powerful one in your life that's directing your decisions and your journey. And they're there to lean into for support, which is really cool, because I feel like as an entrepreneur, we always kind of have this idea that we're just kind of lone wolves, and we're doing this alone, and it's really hard to talk about things or have a teacher on demand at all times that we can go in and talk to. And that's the cool thing. You have them at your fingertips. Any point in the day, you can just stop and say, hey, I need your help. Help me with this. And it's really cool what you end up receiving.
How do you think anyone can do this?
Yes.
Anyone? Oh.
Yes. I have not had a student that I haven't been able to teach. And I don't like using that word, but it's just easier terminology. I say student because I believe all my students are actually teachers.
Yeah.
And so they're really clients, and they're really healers and teachers in their own right, even if you don't identify yourself as a healer or a teacher, because you're here to teach yourself, and you're here to teach your family, and you're here to teach your friends. And so we're all teachers, and we're all beacons of light. And I haven't had one person that I haven't been able to that hasn't had success in going into their own records and getting answers to their questions. And the way that I approach it's very differently than most Akashic record teachers or practitioners, because I like to make it very interactive and very empowering. So you're the one in the driver's seat, and you're the one that gets to open up, and you don't have to be intuitive, you don't have to be a psychic, you don't have to do any of that. It's really about you trusting and leaning in for support, and within that leaning in, you end up recognizing the gifts that you hold, because we all have a very set of unique gifts that we're here to bless the world with.
Right.
And within blessing the world, more abundant success and peace comes out of it.
Absolutely. And it's interesting you talk about gifts, because I talk about that, excuse me, a lot, that sometimes people think, oh, I don't have any gifts. It's like, yes, you do. Get digging, because you do. And a lot of them, I'm sure, are more unfolded as you get into these records, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's an amazing tool. And, a lot of my clients that are moms, or even grandparents, they find that when they're doing the work on themselves within the records, it has this huge ripple effect on their family. And their children start seeing things differently or behaving different ways, because they're able to do the work on themselves and then even get parenting advice in the records as well.
Oh, wow. Do you have a story that just comes to mind of something that's changed or shifted, whether it be you or a client you could share?
I have several clients that, they come to me and they come and they said, Amy, I signed up for this course thinking that I was just going to use this for my business. And that's what I wanted to use it for. I was going to use it for my business. And I have anywhere from coaches to healers to just moms that want to just learn how to do this, right? And what they end up saying is they end up walking away with much more than a tool to use in business. They walk away with a new lifestyle. They walk away with knowing that they're always supported and that they're always loved. And they have a new perspective and a new outlook on life. And for me, that's huge, because I know how much it has completely changed my world and the way that I think, because, it was always, before I started playing in the records and before I started down the spiritual path, it was always, why me? Why this? There's another thing that's happening. And, I wasn't really viewing things as I have the control to change them. Yeah. And it's allowed me to view the world very differently, that it is full of so much abundance and so much prosperity, and it's only up to me to tap into the resources that I have. And the Akashic Records is definitely a resource, and we all have the innate ability to do it, which is really, really cool.
Wow. Yes. And it's so different. It's not something, this is, to me, do you call this a modality?
I do. My modality is Sacred Awakening, because I do much more than just take people into the Akashic field per se. I teach you how to really use the records, and then I teach many more spiritual practices, because there's this unfolding that happens as we're playing in the records. So it's just a starting point to much more that there is out there. And, as our world awakens to more of these spiritual practices, because we are moving towards that. We are moving to more feminine power, more standing in that feminine truth, that more softness, that more just intuitive ability to access information and look at it in a different way. And so the Akashic records allows you to really just start opening your eyes to what it is that you're here to do, and how to go about doing it as well.
Well, it's also very interesting. So I've heard you talk about folding time. Can you like explain to our listeners what that is?
Yes. So I love folding time, and we have as a society scarcity around time. And it's actually scientific that time is speeding up as well. And so we are constantly fighting and racing against the clock. And so what I have found is when you play and you work in the records, you can start to access divine time. And divine time works so differently than any other time, because it's just this beautiful unfolding of grace and love and light. And we don't have to race against the clock. We don't have to look at time as linear. And what the Akashic Records does is you can go in there, and because I've had this very much for a long time, is I'm always racing against time. There's never enough time, and a lot of my clients have the same issue. And so what I have found is you could go in the records and you can heal this around this scarcity around time, and you can work with it in a way that will allow you to not feel like you're not supported, because there's this big piece about support. So you can go into the records and you can say, how can I shift my relationship around time? And this is the cool thing, because you can use the records in any way, shape that you want to use it. So you can use it for cooking, you can use it for healing, you can use it for dieting, you can use it for building a better relationship, you can use it for business. And so if you think about time, time has everything to do with all of those things.
Oh, yeah.
And so you can go into the records and you can ask questions around whatever particular topic or subject that you're wanting help with, and it will help you fold time, because you're not second guessing yourself. You're going directly to source and getting the answer directly from source, and you get to use it in whatever way possible that you want to use it in, and they'll give you direct steps. And so you don't have to worry about, well, am I doing this right? Am I not doing this right? Oh, let me take this path and this path and this path and this path and this path. And finally, the 10th path that you took was the right path, where you could just go in the records and say, what path am I actually taking that will allow me to just get to the end goal much quicker.
Oh, love that.
Yeah, so it's like this cool, you end up shaving years off of life and a bunch of zigzags in the path. You can take the most direct path possible. Now, that doesn't mean that you won't have experiences in your life that are challenging, because just because it's challenging doesn't mean that it's bad. Right. And challenges allow us to grow in a new way. And for me, an example of how I've folded time in the past is I'm really good at being busy. And I'm really good at putting lots and lots of stuff on my plate. And when I first started coaching, I went in the records and I said, hey, I want to get these discovery calls booked, and I want to get people on the phone so I can sell my packages. And I had this big grandiose idea that I wanted 15 one-on-one clients at one time, which is a lot of clients. I didn't know better at the time. So I went in the records and they said, hey, do this, offer this reading and do this. So I said, okay, I'll do that. So I offered a free 20-minute Akashic record reading. I made a little opt-in for it. I had over 251 people sign up for this opt-in in less than 24 hours.
Oh my God.
I had 41 people sign up for the free session. And I had to shut the thing down because I was booked out for 30 days.
Oh my gosh.
So what I discovered was I discovered within a 30-day time period that I didn't want 15 clients.
Yeah.
I didn't want 15 one-on-one clients because I got to see how busy I was. And
Right.
normally I would have learned that lesson over a year or two time period. Where this, they said, do this. They showed me what I was asking for.
Right.
And then I got to go, nope, I'm not doing it. So it's cool because I ended up going, okay, I learned that lesson. That was a lesson for me in a 30-day time period, as opposed to committing to something for a year and being that busy for a year.
Oh, wow.
So
Well,
it's pretty
sorry.
neat.
I love all this, and I would love to keep on talking, but our time is about up, and to be respectful to our listeners, because I always, do these fairly quick, because that's how I roll. I know you have a free gift that you wanted to share. Can you do that?
Yeah. Do you want me to give you a link, or are you going to have it popped in? Because it's
I'm going to put it in, but go ahead and say it for those if they're driving or something, and they can, or if they have something they can write it down, that's fine too. Driving.
I'll get you the link because we're switching everything over, so I'll get you the link. But it's, I believe it's amyrobeson.co/infinite possibilities, but don't quote me on that because
we'll make sure the right one's on there. So if
Yeah.
that one doesn't work and you are writing it down, we'll make sure that you get it. And what is the gift?
The gift is if the Akashic Records is really sparking your curiosity, this particular free healing, I take you directly into the Akashic field, and you get to meet one of the guardians of the records and get a secret message from them. So you'll get to experience the infinite possibilities of this field and just kind of go into the Akash and see how you like it. And it may start a totally different new experience in your life for you to start exploring. And the big thing is just start exploring and having fun with the spiritual side of your being. So yeah.
Okay. Well, and I would challenge any entrepreneur, listening, if you're open to the possibility of something different and new, this might be a great segue to see what it's all about and find out if it's for you. And thank you so much for being with us today, Amy. I appreciate you sharing all that, and make sure that you get her free gift, and we'll have it here on the show notes. And again, we hope you have a beautiful day, everyone, and join us again on the podcast. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Prosperity Profiles Podcast, sponsored by Prosperity Profilers, LLC, helping you look prosperous, feel prosperous, and be prosperous. We hope you enjoyed our time together, and we'll visit again soon. You can learn more about Prosperity Profiles